Good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 246 of the On Air Advocate. Where at the On Air Advocate, we look to provide education, support, and empowerment for all of those with different abilities, mental and medical illnesses, and their caregivers. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Tammy Flynn, and I am the host and producer of the On Air Advocate. And I am super excited if you are here this morning joining us, or whether you are catching this on the replay. Now, as always, from whatever social media application you might be watching this from this morning, if you find relevancy in what we're chatting about, make sure you hit that share button and share the love with others. Well, if you guys have been following us, you know that this is our Wellness Week and a great way to kick off January. And so this morning I have with me to kick that off Anim Aweh. She is a licensed clinical therapist and a clinical health educator. Good
Hi,
morning.
thank you for having me.
Yes, welcome. And so this is your first time to the platform in the show. And so I would love for you to just take a few moments and just tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. So, like you mentioned, I'm a licensed mental health therapist. I'm also a clinical health educator, and do a lot of wellness coaching for both corporations as well as individuals. So, what that looks like is really helping people identify what their particular area or issue is around the 8 dimensions of wellness, because it could be around financial, spirituality, emotional health, physical health, occupational. So it varies. So really identifying what the particular issue is and helping people strengthen that area and creating smart goals around that so that they can sustain the change and be super, just empowered to kind of sustain that change for themselves.
And what made you get into this area of work? Is there something behind this passion that got you to this point?
Yeah. So it's interesting because my background is in public health. I received my first degree in public health with a concentration on epidemiology. I thought for a long time that I was sort of going to go this medical route, and then I got introduced to therapy via my master's in clinical social work. And so I knew that public health was still my passion. So I wanted to fuse the two, and by fusing the two, we ended up in wellness, because wellness is really taking all those pieces into consideration. It's both our mental health and our physical health, and I really believe that as a society, we often treat them as two separate entities. And so that, my practice or my work focuses on really looking at how we can strengthen the two together. And like often what we see with individuals in my work is that we often neglect one for the other. And that's how we like start having, sorts of mental health issues or physical issues when we neglect one for the other, or vice versa. And so really helping people strengthen both areas in their life so that they can live a more well and holistic lifestyle.
Yes, and I would say that this last year in 2020, and as we merge into 2021, mental wellness and just health and wellness overall is so needed more now than ever, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I think COVID has shown us in many ways why our physical health is important as well as our mental health. And I just heard this morning on the news that we're facing potentially another crisis, and that other crisis would be a mental health crisis, because a lot of people are neglecting their mental health, not intentionally, but because they can't access services because of the COVID crisis. So a lot of people are struggling both mentally and physically. And so it's creating this other sort of crisis, unfortunately. And so that this has shown that we need to be mindful of both and considerate both and take care of both.
Yes, and definitely not only looking at ourselves as adults, but I think for parents, making sure that we're taking a look at our kids too and all the things that they're going through with this, because their life has so been altered from all of the things that have been going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they may not be able to articulate that. And so as a parent, you know your child better than other people. So it's important to kind of be mindful of like little subtle changes and having conversations with the kids as well about everything that's going on. Maybe they don't have the words, or maybe they don't, feel like they may have the space to do so. So providing that space where they can have the opportunity to kind of talk it through with mom and dad, or, their loved ones, and really feel safe in that space when, doing so.
Yes. And today I know that you have some great strategies and kind of some things to walk through with us when we think about our mental wellness during this time. And so I'm going to let you take that away, and I'm going to take notes.
Right. So I think the most important thing for everyone, regardless of where you are, is a level of sort of awareness. I think once we begin to have a level of awareness on what particularly might be the issue for you, that can help us make begin to create the right steps to kind of move forward. So awareness is probably the first step. So what's going on with you? What changes are you noticing? Are you noticing that you're becoming more secluded, or you're becoming sort of I'm trying to think of some of the issues people are having during COVID. Maybe you're not following through with things like you used to. So maybe you're seeing that as a problem. And also keep in mind, people's problems look differently for everyone. It's okay to have your own individual problems. We don't have to do a comparison to anyone. This is you. This is your life. Let's keep it focused on that. So I would say awareness is the biggest thing. I think next thing is sort of intentionality. Like, okay, so I'm a big advocate of being intentional, because being intentional is literally the difference between just having a thought, an idea, versus actually moving towards making real changes in your life. So you've identified that there's a problem through your level of awareness. So like, what are you willing to do at this point? What are the steps that you need to take? What sort of research have you done? What sort of what kind of people have you talked to? Do you need a therapist? Do you need a mental health therapist? Do you need a wellness coach? Do you need to speak to your primary care physician? Like, who are those people that are around you that you can sort of, turn to in these times and kind of have a conversation with to help you make those steps to be sort of more intentional in that. And then I would also say to be more mindful. And in these crazy times, I think it's shown us that we need to just slow down in many ways, and it's forced us to slow down in so many ways. And so being mindfulness is a practice that allows us to just be still for even just a couple minutes, 10 minutes or so. And so allowing ourselves that gift or that grace rather, to be more mindful and to be more present. So whether that means allotting time for the family, allotting time and that looks a little differently now, like versus if you live with your family versus if you don't. So creating those times where you can like reach out to your family, have a Zoom conversation with your family, just scheduling things out that make you happy. So just being intentional in that regard and creating those times and those opportunities to connect with those people that you love. And then lastly, I would just say, be gentle with yourself. We are in a global pandemic. We've never been here before. A lot of us, have never seen something like this. So being kind to ourselves just means that to stop being hard on ourselves, to make sure that we don't judge ourselves or we don't beat ourselves up, and being gentle with ourselves allows us to give us grace to ourselves as we extend grace to other people during these sort of hectic times. So I would say those are like my 4-ish tips around, being mentally well during these times. And so again, just want to reiterate, like, identify what the particular problem is. And maybe you may not be able to identify it for yourself, but maybe your loved one is telling you that they're noticing some changes in you. And rather than, approaching it in a confrontational manner, but, if this is a person saying it from a place of love, like, having a real conversation about what that particular problem is. And, then again, creating steps and a plan to move forward to kind of identify or work on that issue.
Right. And do you think that it's beneficial to possibly list things out? Like,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Like,
I'm a big fan of like making lists. I have tons of notebooks around my desk. Like I make lists. I try to just strategize for myself. I'm a visual person. So like, I like to break it down for myself. It also helps with anxiety, right? But a lot of times we'll overwhelm ourselves. If we can just break it down into smaller pieces, it becomes more manageable and less pressing on our anxieties.
And when you're kind of breaking those down and you're listing them out, do you think that it's beneficial to list like a daily strategy that you're going to do? I mean, what I'm saying, like working through something like, like we were talking about mindfulness, like today I'm going to take my 5 minutes, like giving yourself those ideas of things to do. Like because sometimes when people are like, well, be mindful, some people don't know what those moments are, especially if you're running around all the time and you're busy. Well, what does that mean? I remember I had a therapist one time on the show, and she said, mindfulness can even be, because I love blueberries, like eating your blueberry with like intention.
Yeah.
Taking a bite and actually enjoying the moments of that. So would you say that really anything that you can slow yourself down to a point where you're actually thinking about the activity that you're doing, is bringing that mindfulness on?
Yeah, I mean, writing the list within itself is a practice of mindfulness, right? Because it's allowing you to sort of be focused on one sort of task at that moment and just be present there in that moment and block out all the distractions. So within that list, writing that list is a practice or a form of mindfulness. So I would definitely recommend writing some lists. And also it's a great way to kind of watch your progress. Like if you're a type of person that you love to check off boxes, you love to check things off and make sure that you got things done. It's a beautiful way to see how far you have come and sort of like just indications of like what things you can do better or how can I improve upon this area. So it's a great way to monitor your progress for yourself. And I think again, it's you versus you. This isn't a competition. This is just, this is you, what you want to do and how you want to grow and get mentally well for yourself. So it's a great way to hold yourself accountable. And it's a great way to kind of incorporate that smart goal mentality, just making sure it makes sense for you. That is it measurable? Does it fit into your lifestyle? Do you feel like this is something that you can reach toward? So making sure that it makes sense for you as well.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Now, resources, when we think about, the pandemic, all the things going on, and in that therapy space, a lot of people, therapy centers are not having people in person. Yourself, now, do you offer online therapy? Do you offer telehealth?
Yeah, I offer telehealth 100%. I'm also in the office because by nature, I work at a community health center, so I do have to be in the office. So there are opportunities to be in the office, but it depends on your level of comfort. But for the most part, most people are defaulting to telehealth. So myself, I definitely offer 100% telehealth for those people that are interested.
Okay. And with that being said, are you just in one area? So do they have to be from a certain state or whatever to access that or to access resources from you? Or would that be something that you can at least give resources or help outreach to those outside of
That's a good question.
Are you in?
Right now I'm in California. So the that's a good question. So with mental health therapy, to how that typically works is that you have to be licensed where you have to see a therapist that's licensed in your state. So with mental health therapy, if you are doing telemental health, like if I'm seeing a person in Georgia, I have to hold a license in Georgia in order to see that person. So I happen to hold 4 different licenses. I have Georgia, California, New Jersey, and Massachusetts because I'm from Boston. So I wanted to make sure that I had that. With wellness coaching, it's sort of more free range. You can be wherever, you can access services from wherever, you can kind of set it up. Again, you can meet through telehealth, but you don't have to hold that licensure. So the restrictions are less rigid with the wellness coaching versus the mental health therapy. So just that's something to kind of keep in mind. Mental health therapy has a lot of restrictions. And again, you want to reach out to somebody that's licensed in your state in order for them to see you, even when it's telehealth.
Right. But that wellness coaching is some of your other services that you offer, something anybody can access.
Absolutely. You can be in New Zealand and I can see you here and there's no problem at all.
And so with that being said, what kind of resources have you kind of put together on your back end to, really help folks, whether that be during the pandemic time right now or, on a normal year? When there's no pandemic.
Yeah. So during the pandemic, I just realized how a lot of people were struggling with their mental health, or a lot of people were struggling with things like wellness or taking care of themselves and self-care. So I developed the I Am Well Wellness subscription service. The box is each month created to really provide a wellness experience in the comfort of your home. So you don't have to leave the house. Everything you need is pretty much in here. So we've had things like literally spa days in a box. And so we curate them specially and customize them specially each month to our subscribers and get them the opportunity to practice these different dimensions of wellness. So this month we have a singing bowl. We did a singing bowl class last night, and the restorative powers in a singing bowl, the way that it can just automatically calm you down is just like nothing that I've seen before.
What is that? Just to back you up, what is that?
I wish I had my bowl, but essentially it's from the Indian and Tibetan, so Southeast Asia.
Okay.
It's like a sound bowl. It has meditative properties in it. And literally, there's something about the vibrations that align with the chakras in your body and literally create this automatic stillness. Like literally, we had a class last night. I was like in tears because like the way that it just calmed me down almost instantly when I heard that the vibrations just going through your body, just literally whatever's going through your mind, just take your bowl and just play it through. So our folks are getting that this month. We have crystals and really just not only just creating this wellness experience in your home, but really this education component is built into it as well, because people have the opportunity to learn about these different forms of sort of, spirituality, these different forms of emotional wellness. Each month, you literally have something curated for you to just try at home and see what works for you. Some people are into crystal energy. Some people are into, the singing bowl. Like I'm a believer after last night, after I had the class with one of my colleagues, and it really just provides that opportunity to expose you to these different sort of elements of wellness, and you see what works for you, and you can't go wrong because you've subscribed, so you get it, so you already have it. So if it doesn't work, you move on and you kind of wait for the next box and see what else you're going to get the following month. So
now, with the things in the box, like you were saying, there was a class. So do you do a class every month kind of that utilizes the tools that are in the box? So if you are a box subscriber?
Absolutely. So every month we kind of highlight one item and we do a class around it. So last night was a singing bowl class. So really introducing our audience to the singing bowl and the powerful benefits of the singing bowl in terms of like anxiety and depression. And so you're going to get that this month, and now you know how to use it, and you can always refer back to the class whenever you want. And so each month that's the plan, to, just provide a class to highlight one item that you may not be familiar with. And now you have a sort of firsthand introduction into it. And then you also have it at home with you. So it's sort of like a win-win.
Yes, I love that. I did not know that was all that was in the box and stuff. And class, I think that's great, because a lot of times you do get boxes of things and you're like, okay, so what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, exactly. And I want to make sure that I give you hands-on instruction and you know what sort of to expect with it.
That is wonderful. And then if somebody just had some questions, maybe they're not in the right state and they just wanted to reach out to you, where would they find you to maybe throw a question at you? I'm sure that you'd be able to at least redirect them in the right direction if it's not you.
Absolutely. I love when people ask me questions. I live on Instagram. I'm at Anim Aweh, my first and last name, one word. But also you can visit my website, Anim Aweh, LCSW.com. You can send me a message directly there and I'll get back to you instantly, because I have an app where I can just directly communicate on my website. Ask me questions. Let me help you, point you in the right direction, even if you're not in one of the 5 states that I'm licensed in, or even if you just don't know what's going on, but you need something. Like, let's have a conversation. Maybe, and we can determine what that is for you, but I'm happy to, just at least point you in the right direction at the bare minimum.
Yes, and explore different options. All right. So in a recap, let's just run through real quick, so that if people are starting out their day, or maybe they're just hopping on right now because it's really early by you. I didn't know you were in California, and it's early by me. Let's starting with awareness. Real quick.
I'm sorry, you cut off for a second.
Let's just run down with starting with awareness. Okay. So kind of the 3 or 4 things to just remember.
Yeah. So with awareness, like you've identified with yourself that potentially something's not right. There's been a shift, there's been a change, like something is going on, and just having that level of awareness with yourself, because that requires you to sit with yourself and kind of identify what that is. So just having that level of awareness, and once you reach that point, I think you can then move on to the next stage, is then beginning to sort of become or work on that intentionality. Like, what is it that I want to achieve? What is it that I need to get there? Who are the people that are around me that can help me get there? Or what do I need to add? Or who do I need to call to get to that point to help me resolve the issue that I've identified in my level of awareness? And then moving to the next stage is that level of mindfulness. So whether that means creating lists, creating tasks, or whatever works for you, however you learn best, however you retain information best, whatever makes the most sense in your life, I would say definitely do that. And just being kind to yourself, being gentle. We're in a global pandemic. You don't want to beat yourself up. You don't want to compare yourself. This is you versus you. This is your journey. You're whatever you're feeling, you're entitled to it. Your feelings are valid. Don't allow people to dismiss it, or even yourself to dismiss it. So being kind and gentle to ourselves, especially during this global pandemic. And I just want to stress again, intentionality. Intentionality is the difference between, conceiving an idea, just thinking, or knowing that there's an issue and moving towards actually making real solutions to kind of resolving the problem.
All right. And I'm going to drop those below in the comments when we're done. So if you didn't write them down, you can write them down after that. And yes, and I would love if you'd come back to at least the Facebook platform. And if there's any information where people can contact, where they can find you, you can drop that below in the comments so the viewers that are watching, they have direct access to you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you for being here this morning and kicking off our Wellness Week here at the On Air Advocate. Yes. All right. If you guys want to know any more about the On Air Advocate, you can head on over to onairadvocate.com and you can find all of our services there. And make sure to stick with us for this whole Wellness Week. And actually, we have another episode coming up in an hour. So stay tuned.
Take care, y'all.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a great day.